Hurricane Irma continuing towards Florida. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on the tropics, and our extremely dangerous Hurricane Irma, which you could see is just raking the northern coastline of Cuba there. It made landfall as a Category 5 hurricane last night, and it's just been moving right along the edge, which has weakened the hurricane from a Category 5 to a strong Category 3. However, it will be moving back over very warm waters and could re-intensify back to a Category 4 hurricane prior to landfall on the west coast of Florida. Again, this thing has moved a lot further west than even the computer models had suggested at first, showing that the ridge of high pressure to its north is a lot stronger than everybody thought. I should also note that Jose is still an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane, but luckily it's missing Barbuda off towards the north and east. It will weaken and mill around out here for a couple of days. Its future is uncertain in the long term. But let's focus on Irma since it is closest to home. Here's the latest on Hurricane Irma as of 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It was at 22.8 north, 79.8 west. Winds were 125 miles per hour, gusting into the 150s. It's moving west at 9 slowly. 941 millibars is that pressure. 941 millibars is the same pressure Hurricane Charlie had when it moved into Punta Gorda. I should note that the 9 miles per hour is a slowdown, which indicates that it might be finally feeling the effects of that tug that's going to draw it right over the Keys and then into the west coast, paralleling the coast almost as a major hurricane Sunday and Monday. So this is very, very dangerous. The hurricane warnings are up, obviously. You can see over time the computer model guidance has shifted from the east coast to the middle of the state, and now they are zeroed in on the west coast of Florida. Anywhere from Key West all the way up through the Big Bend, you guys are in for a vicious pounding from this dangerous hurricane. There's the radar imagery out of Key West. You can see the eye of the hurricane raking the north coast of Cuba right there, and still a tight core. It's half over water, more than half over water, and if it continues this westerly motion here, it's going to move back out over the Straits of Florida, and the anticipated turn to the north would put Key West and the Florida Keys directly in the path. If I zoom in on this radar, you can see we already had a good band move through areas like Marathon and Duck Key. You guys are getting slammed. Summerlin Key. Again, if you're still there, you got to get out. It's too dangerous. The storm surge values, which I'll show you in a second, are expected to be tremendous. A very strong storm here moving through the Everglades. Naples, you just had a strong thunderstorm. Bonita Springs, areas north, you guys need to be on the alert. It's looking better in southeast Florida, but the west coast is not looking good right now. Here's the latest water vapor imagery, and you can still see it's starting to fire some deeper thunderstorm activity over water, just waiting for the center to leave Cuba. Remember in 2005, Hurricane Dennis weakened from a Category 4 to a Category 1 over Cuba, came out over the Gulf and went right back to a Category 4 within 12 hours. And since landfall is expected further west now, it will be a later landfall. So instead of Sunday morning, it could be Sunday night. So that's 12 extra hours over the very warm Gulf waters. Wind shear could increase, but nevertheless, it is a very dangerous hurricane. We've seen the damage potential this storm has already. So once this center moves further away from Cuba, strengthening should ensue again. I cannot stress enough the threat of storm surge. You can see the possible inundation here from the Florida Keys and the southwest coast of Florida up through Cape Coral, Charlotte Harbor, even Tampa Bay. Anytime there's onshore flow, you guys get slammed. So as the eye of the hurricane comes up the coastline, the onshore winds are going to push a tremendous surge. The Everglades, Naples, Marco, Sanibel, all the way up to Captiva. You guys are in for it. So heed your local emergency officials to get out of Dodge while the getting out's good. Winds will obviously be a problem. A Category 4 hurricane, extreme damage potential. All of the areas of western Florida under the threat of extremely high winds. Not just sustained winds, but also gusts, which could cause devastation. Mobile homes get absolutely destroyed in Category 4 hurricanes, so that's why there are always those evacuations. Of course, areas all up and down the west coast of Florida, including Port Charlotte, Sarasota, St. Petersburg, Tampa. You guys have inland extreme wind threats here from the National Weather Service. You need to be taking these very, very seriously. That's to say nothing of the Keys. If the eye crosses close to or over, you could have extreme wind damage in all of the Florida Keys, high wind damage further to the north near Key Largo. But if you're in Marathon or Summerlin Key or Key West, Isle Morada, you guys, if you're still there, if you still have time to get out and you're able to, I would suggest you do so, because you don't want to mess with a major hurricane, especially not one as potent as Irma has been the last couple of days. That's to say nothing of the rainfall. You can see rain predictions 20 inches or more for the Keys, up the spine of Florida, very heavy rain, and then as it pushes inland, we're going to have rainfall that's pretty decent, 2 to 4 inches all the way up towards Tennessee. And these could change over time, depending on the convection of the storm and the movement and the speed of the storm. So as we saw with Harvey, flooding potential is there. Probably not as extreme, hopefully not as extreme, but it is there. Here are the sea surface temperatures. You can see they're very hot here off the west coast of Florida. So once that eye moves off of Cuba, we could see intensification. So right now is a borderline category 3-4 hurricane. It could strengthen again. Regardless, it is a powerful, large, and dangerous storm, and it should be taken very seriously. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on extremely dangerous Hurricane Irma. We'll be back, frequent updates. Stay tuned.